have your Neopop artwork done, you're going to give it to me. I'm going to scan it in, and then I will send you something that looks like this. And it's really helpful if you put your name on it before we scan it in, just to make sure that we don't get them confused. And then I know whose is whose, because sometimes we have some that look similar, and when I have 90 of them, it's hard to remember who did what. So put your name on it. It doesn't mean you have to trace your name later. Just put it on the paper before you give it to me to scan. This is my design. You can see it's scanned in vertically, which is fine. I'll show you how to flip it over in Photoshop. When you get it sent to you, either through your email or your drive, I'm going to send it to you as a JPEG. You should be able to click the download button. If you don't see that, you might just have to click here and then do open a new window, and then it should let you download. So make sure you download. This gives you a nice full-size version of your image that's been scanned. You can see I have some mistakes on my drawing here and there, some smudges. That's totally fine because we're going to be using this as our reference. Eventually, we will be deleting this layer. Once it's downloaded, we go back to Photoshop and we're going to go to Open or File Open, and we'll open up that scanned image. Next, we need to rotate. You may not have to rotate if you drew vertically, but I'm going to do Image and then Image Rotation, and we're going to do 90 degrees counterclockwise. So now it's going the right way. You can see it says background and that this is locked. We're going to leave this all the same. We don't want to do anything really to this layer. We want this as our reference layer. Eventually, we will delete it. Next, I'm going to do a new layer, and I'm going to hover over layer 1 and just double click with my mouse. And then I'm going to just type in drawing. You could say draw, drawing, painting, just so I know that this is the drawing layer. I don't want to be drawing on the background layer. So this is my drawing layer. Then I'm going to go over to my brush tool. And once you select that, it's a good idea to double check that it is hard round is selected, making sure it's got 100% hardness. You do not want to use a soft brush for this, at least this initial part, because we're basically just outlining all of our lines, and then eventually we'll be coloring it in. So kind of think like you're creating a coloring sheet that eventually you will color in digitally. It's also a good idea to check the size. So mine is 15, which I think is a pretty good size for most of my outlines, but you could make them thicker or thinner if you'd like. I'm going to zoom in just because it helps a lot when you're tracing to zoom into different parts. So the magnifying glass is right here. Plus sign will let you zoom in. You just have to click, and then Control Z will let you go back, and you can also zoom back out using the minus. If you want to just move around, like a lot of times students do this and they're like, ah, it's not working. Grab this little hand right here. If you don't see it, just click on these buttons right here where you can add it, but little hand, and this will let you click and drag around. So that's very useful, especially when you're zoomed in on something. So I'll zoom back in and show you with the hand like so. All right, so we're going to take the brush tool here. I like to keep smoothing up just a little bit, like I'd say between 10 to 25%. I don't like to make it super smooth because it can lag and it causes some issues. So we're going to do 15% here. Excuse me. All right. And then if it doesn't seem like it's smooth enough, like here it seems a little jittery, I'm going to do Control Z. Let's go and increase it a little bit. I'm going to like about 25. You'll kind of see what I mean. So you see how it's a little bit of a lag, but it does make a nice smooth outline. So I think that's better. I don't want to increase it too much more though, otherwise it can get very laggy, very slow. We don't want that. So at this point, I'm literally tracing my own work as best as I can. The beauty of this is you can easily fix things. So if you make a mistake, you just do Control Z, you can go back. So this is actually probably faster than drawing by hand. So if it took you a while to do the drawing by hand, just know it won't take you probably as long to do the outlining. There we go. If you have lots and lots of things in your design, it may not be a bad idea to do separate layers for each one. I don't know what happened here. It should be called drawing. There we go. and it lags. Sometimes you get a little bit off. And I'm using the mouse right now. I'll show you with the tablet too, the drawing tablet. There's definitely a difference. And I do like using the drawing tablets, but I just wanted to show you with the mouse to begin with. Okay, I have my Barbie outlined. And now I am going to start coloring in basically. So I can take my paint bucket tool. You always want to pay attention, make sure you're on the right layer. And if you double click down here, this is where you can choose your color. I'm choosing green because Barbie, is normally pink. We'll do green. I'll go ahead and click here and you can see it filled it in with my paint bucket. Again, having a high tolerance, that'll make sure you don't have a lot of gaps or anything in there too. Now, if I wanted these to be separate colors, I'd have to draw a line in between these two. So this R and this B are connected, but they're not connected to the I. So if I want this to be different, I could just choose a different color, or I'm just going to fill it in with this green, like so. You can see it's kind of covering up the drawing because that's on that bottom layer, which is fine. Something like that. Now, the beauty of this is I can change this later on. So if I make a change, if I want to, let's say I want to change it because I actually don't really like this green. I might do more of like a pale mint green. There we go. I like that better. All right, let's do that. Then I could just take it to the next step. What else am I going to trace next? I'm going to show you with the drawing tablet. So I have a drawing tablet. I know you can't see it, but I have a drawing tablet plugged in right now to a USB. I have the stylus in my hand, and I'm going to show you with the brush kind of how that works. Before I do that, I'm going to switch my color to black just to show you. You're going to grab your brush, probably keep it that same size that you were using before. But over here, this little target, you're going to click on this. It says always use pressure for size. When off, brush preset controls pressure. Now with the mouse, we don't have pressure, right? Because it's just going to be the same pressure regardless. With a drawing tablet, it can actually sense the pressure of your stylus in your hand and basically draw how you would on paper. So you can click on that button. If you don't see it, or if you don't see your brush settings or whatever and you're struggling, you can go over here to brush settings. And then when we go to shape dynamics, we can just make sure that pen pressure is selected. So that way, you know it's ready to go. All right, so I'm going to show you really quick how this works. So I'm just going to do it off to the side here. So I'm pressing really lightly. See how it's a nice light line? And then as I press harder, it's going to be a more solid line. So you see how nice that line looks? It looks really just more artistic, a little more finished, and it gives it a little bit more of like a hand-drawn feel, if that makes sense. So you can kind of see, I'll kind of start light, and then it's great for line quality. Takes a little bit of practice using the drawing tablet. So if it doesn't feel good right away, that is totally normal. It does not always come naturally. And I'm even still getting used to it. Control Z on the keyboard, it's your best friend. And I still use the mouse for clicking on things, but you can actually use the tablet as a mouse. Just by hovering over, you can move it around and it won't make a mark until you actually touch down. There we go. I'll use my mouse now. I'm going to grab that little hand, move that over, back to the brush. And then I'll turn my reference layer off too, just so you can kind of see the difference between the tablet. That line's a little wonky, so I might have to go back in. Control Z. There we go. And you're going to go down that way. And then we'll stop about there. All right. Now we can get into Weird Barbie down here. I feel like using the tablet to draw all those extra things is kind of fun. Before I do that, though, I'm going to turn off the background layer just so you can kind of see. You see how this has a lot more variation? Some students like that, and then others don't. Like others just want one solid line and leave it at that. If you see a place where you're like, ooh, like this line here, just, I don't know, that's kind of bothering me. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to fix that. And I'm going to use my eraser right here, making sure it's a hard eraser. And I'm just going to erase that line, whatever I need to there. And then I'll see if I can connect this back up without being too wonky. Control Z on that quick. there. It's a little better. And then this is another part of the project. So you'll run into this frequently in future assignments where you want to get that color again. Like right now we have black. Like how do I get that green color again? So if you can find the eyedropper tool, which again, if it's not there, you might have to click on these the three dots down here to find it. But the eyedropper tool will select the color for you. So you see how it's selected? It's over down here now. Now I can just go back to my paint bucket and fill in those areas. Here we go. Filled in, fixed, zoom back out, looks a lot better. So that's the basics of this assignment. I'm going to turn my background layer back on. Eventually, you're going to trace over everything, color everything in, the background, everything, and then you should be able to turn this background layer off. And what it should look like is one solid design. There's no holes, there's no checkerboard showing, because checkerboard just means it's got transparency. So there shouldn't be any holes, there shouldn't be any gaps. You shouldn't have any like major blank areas. The majority of the work should be filled up. So have a lot of fun with that. If you want to use the mouse and the drawing tablet, that's fine too. We don't have enough drawing tablets for everybody. I believe we have 20 right now, so we just share them. It's just kind of first come, first serve. So give it a try, just try it. And if you absolutely hate it, switch back to the mouse and that's fine.